I asked the president if the U.S. was doing more than these military strikes to help the Iranian people regain control of Iran against the regime, to seize the country from the Iranian regime. And he said, yes, the president said, yes, we are indeed. But right now we want everyone staying inside. It's not safe out there. And then the president said, it's about to get even less safe. He said, quote, we haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon.
This morning, President Donald Trump told CNN that we have yet to see the big wave of American military force in Iran. Cenk, before I continue, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so I'm super worried about how this is going. It looks like we might not be reporting our full losses. And now there's immediately, of course, an escalation. So how far is the escalation gonna go? What are the new standards for when we leave? That is absolutely critical. And yes, some of the standards are completely new, never mentioned before. So the goalposts are moving. We'll tell you all about it.
Now, Trump previously had stated that this war in Iran could last 4 weeks, but not longer than that. I remember hearing similar things when it came to the US's illegal invasion in Iraq in 2003. Now he says that it could be over even sooner, which seems a bit delusional considering how much things have actually escalated since this war began last Friday night. Now, here's what he says. I don't want to see it going on too long. I always thought it would be 4 weeks, and we're a little ahead of schedule. However, Trump, known to speak from both sides of his mouth in the name of plausible deniability, also said this, quote, we haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon. Now, might I remind you all that one of the biggest issues here when it comes to the US-Israeli side of this conflict is the fact that the US had depleted 25% of its interceptors, and those interceptors are harder to manufacture compared to the missiles that Iran is able to quickly manufacture. So in the end, we could find ourselves in a situation where we have run out of interceptors, Iran hasn't run out of their missiles, and well, you get the point. Now, during a Medal of Honor ceremony, Trump rambled at length about how he could extend the length of the war for as long as he wants because he doesn't get bored. So let's actually hear from Trump himself and see if this makes any sense to you.
We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly, after that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through.
No one has accused the president of getting bored. If anything, the president has been criticized over the fact that after decapitating the IRCG, right, after taking out the Ayatollah, there's really no plan in place for what happens next. But nonetheless, in that same speech, he later went on to callously discuss the White House ballroom.
But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building. See that nice drape? When that comes down right now, you see a very, very deep hole. But in about a year and a half from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors because it can't get more beautiful than that. I picked those drapes in my first term.
So far, we know that at least 6 US soldiers have died in this ridiculous war in Iran. We don't know what the exact number is, though. We're guessing that it's actually higher, but the US government isn't disclosing all the fatalities quite yet.
Yeah, things get normalized that shouldn't be normalized. A president talking about the drapes in the middle of a super important war that we just launched is nuts. It's not normal. Like, oh, 6 Americans have died. At the time, I think it was 4 when he was giving that speech, to be fair. And we just launched a massive war with no explanation as to why, no justification. 3/4 of the country is totally against it. And he's like, I like those drapes. Maybe I won't need to spend as much on the door. What are you doing? Hey, Liberace, focus. And then what is that talk of, like, oh, I don't get bored? Who cares? Like, is that our main concern, whether the president is bored with war or not? I mean, come on, man, this is absurd. And yet there's no, now you're gonna see Hegseth talking about how we didn't start the war. No, we definitely started the war, but the president is such an imbecile. I don't know what he's aware of and what he's not aware of.
It's devastating. It's devastating because he really appears to be emboldened by what he managed to carry out in Venezuela, essentially kidnapping the leader of Venezuela. That went smoothly, regardless of how illegal that operation might have been. And unfortunately, he has used that confidence to carry him through this decision to strike Iran, go to war with Iran, with no real plan in place. So there are people who support this war for their own reasons. And what they'll do is they'll point to people like us who are critical of the war by claiming that we are supportive of Iran's regime. No, this is not a commentary in support of Iran's regime. This is a commentary in support of peace and actually having a plan in place. Now, why are we carrying this out? Obviously, it's something that the Israelis have wanted, Benjamin Netanyahu has wanted for literally decades. According to Netanyahu, Iran has been, on the verge of deadly weapons and nuclear weapons for the last 50 years. So this has never really been about weapons. This has never been about nuclear weapons or ballistic missiles. This has always been about destabilizing Iran so Israel can be the hegemon in the Middle East. And we are paying the price for that as Americans. So that's what's really going on here. It's been devastating already. This morning, Trump explained why he chose to enter the war with Iran. So let's take a look at the next video and see if we get a little more clarity from the leader of this country.
Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
Iran had no missiles capable of hitting the United States. There was no indication that Iran even had any interest or ever expressed any interest in using its ballistic missiles against Europe. That's a complete and utter lie. So that justification for what we just engaged in and what we got dragged into makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. He's lying to the American people there. I'm gonna go to one more video, Cenk, before I go to you, because in this next one, he stated the American military's objectives. Take a look at that.
Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never gonna have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never gonna have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders.
Now, even though we very clearly started the war, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth denies the claim. He says, quote, "We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we're finishing it." And then he says, "This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change and the world is better off for it." Are we sure he's not still an alcoholic?
Yeah.
The regime is still in place. They might have decapitated the regime, but it's still in place and there's no plan for what happens next.
We didn't start the war. What do you mean we didn't start the war? Like the whole world saw us start the war. Okay, so look, I'm getting into serious parts of the moving goalposts in a second. But first, Robot Engineer is one of our members on YouTube. Hit the join button, become part of the show. He made a great point. I just wanted to reiterate real quick. He said he doesn't get bored, referring to Trump. And 2 minutes later, he switches topics to building a ballroom because he was bored. Oh, that's a great point. Thank you, brother. I love doing the show with you guys. I wish I'd have thought of that earlier. That's exactly right. Now, along the same lines, our bombs, we powerfully blew up their facilities. Just talk like a grown-up for a second. And now to the important stuff. Ballistic missiles, they were about to reach us. No, that's a new layer of lie. Anna's right. Like they can't reach, the ballistic missiles have no chance of reaching us, not even close, right? And then they say, well, that's true, but they can't. Actually, they don't say it's true. Trump just made it up. Totally, utterly made it up in that clip. But earlier they were acknowledging that they can't reach us. But they're like, but they could reach our bases in the Gulf Coast. Well, I mean, in the Gulf region. That's a good reason not to start the war.
That's right.
Right? And so, but they say, well, as you're gonna see later in the show, Marco Rubio is saying, well, Israel was gonna start it either way, and then our troops would have been in greater danger. So they're the boss of us. And they were gonna put our troops in danger. So we had to launch to do as the Israelis command. So this is all super obvious. Now the moving goalposts. So you saw them there? We're destroying their navy. Caroline Levitt then went on X and responded to Matt Walsh of all people. And even Matt Walsh working the Daily Wire is like, what the hell's going on? Like this isn't he's like, this isn't anything that we promised. We didn't promise this during the election, and I'm confused.
Your boss has been egging it on. You know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's him beginning to say, hey, look, I'm not with these other guys.
But you are.
Okay.
But you are with those other guys.
Yeah. So, anyways, he said the things we've been saying this entire time, which is, hey, wait a minute, you said we already destroyed their nuclear facility. So why are you bringing up nuclear again? And you said that we were gonna do regime change this weekend, well before Matt Walsh. I was saying in every video, in every tweet, all right, we did regime change. Ayatollah's dead. Their top 49 guys are dead. Let's go home. And at that point, we hadn't lost a single person yet, not one. And everybody, like all the Israel first in the comments are like, no, we have to stay much longer until they have no defenses at all against Israel. What is this? What is this?
Can we pause for a second and just talk about the 6 American soldiers who died for Israel? American soldiers who died for Israel, so Israel can build its empire. We don't know their identities. We don't know how young or old they are. We don't know if they have children. Just the thought of them losing their lives to an illegal war that doesn't benefit the United States in any way, shape, or form. These are people who signed up to protect our country and instead got dragged into a war and lost their lives on behalf of a foreign country that has illegal nuclear weapons, a clandestine nuclear program. And if you want to talk about state sponsor of terror, we should be having a discussion about Israel, but unfortunately, we live in an environment that is controlled by Zionist media. Let's keep it real. And if the media isn't adequately pro-Zionist enough, the Ellisons will buy it and turn it into a pro-Zionist outlet.
So then she tweets under Matt Walsh, or in response to Matt Walsh, because of course she's not gonna respond to anyone until they see, oh my God, it's eating, our support is so thin now. Even people at the Daily Wire are questioning this war, right? So she panics and responds, and she says, now remember, yeah, we might have destroyed their nuclear facilities and killed everyone in charge, but we haven't destroyed their entire navy yet. Wait, what? Nobody said anything about destroying their navy before the war, and you saw Trump mentioning it in that video. What is this new standard about destroying their entire Navy? Why do we have to was their Navy going to cross the Atlantic or the Pacific and get to California or to Rhode Island? Why do we have to destroy their entire Navy? And what kind of standard is that? Oh, what? No, they still have a dinghy left. Israel says to stay. And then, but if that wasn't absurd enough, Levitt also added one other thing. We have to destroy all their IEDs.
Oh, wow.
What?
Wow.
What? How do we even know where their road bombs are?
Why don't we just drop a nuke?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Israel will be very pleased by that. They keep moving the goalposts. You're totally right. You're totally right.
Because guys, it isn't about the IEDs or their Navy or their ballistic missiles or their nuclear program. It's about regime change. And so in order to get regime change, you say, well, I mean, we already killed them all. No. Israel has to put a puppet in place.
Exactly.
Because if they change to new Iranians, they're like, well, we don't want Iranians. If they change to democracy, no. We don't want the Iranian people making decisions because they would also be against Israel. We have to physically put in a puppet, and until we do that, America's gonna stay in the war. In fact, if more Americans get killed, great, then we'll be able to reel in America even easier into this war. So that's what's happening here. That's why they moved the goalposts immediately, and there's no one that could deny that. Show me one sumbitch who's gonna lie and tell us that we went to war to destroy their IEDs, their roadside bombs. Roadside bombs where, by the way? Oh, you wanna destroy their roadside bombs, why? Because you're thinking you're bringing in ground troops, which Trump also said. When asked in a different interview, how about ground troops? He said, well, I'm not taking anything off the table. We might do ground troops.
So when he says that, it usually happens. At least that's what I've noticed when it comes to foreign policy. So you're not gonna get regime change unless you have troops on the ground. And right now we don't have troops on the ground. It appears that Trump is at least considering it, and that would be disastrous. And I just want to remind you all, we're talking about a country of 92 million people. Destabilizing it would be disastrous for those people, obviously. But at the same time, people are going to try to flee Iran. And then we're going to have another refugee crisis on our hands. And then we're going to hear from all of our allied countries that are now taking in a giant amount of refugees, Iranian refugees, that they don't like the Islamification of their country. Just wait for it, because it's gonna happen. They've been silent. They have allowed all of this to happen without raising any concerns. Now they'll suffer the consequences. Will Israel take in any of the refugees? Of course not.
In fact,
we suffer the costs while they get the benefits.
In fact, Anna, real quick on that. Again, some Israel First guy on social media is like, has Turkey taken in refugees? Yeah, actually millions from Syria.
Syria, yep.
And they're like, yeah, but you didn't take any Palestinians. Oh no, you're trying to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. So wait, let me get this right. So you want Europe or whoever else to take in 5.5 million Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza Strip and all the other displaced people from the wars like the Syrian war, etc. And now we're gonna have displaced Iranians and they're gonna have to go to Europe. Then you're gonna say, look at these Muslims. They're the real problem. Bomb another Muslim country for me. Bomb another one, bomb another one. America, you better do what we say, otherwise you're all anti-Semites. And so by the way, this is no joke. Naftali Bennett, their former prime minister, and one of the leading candidates, and he's not the only one at all, but he made it absolutely clear, Turkey's next.
Turkey's next.
Okay, so Turkey's in NATO. Now do you know why they've been trying to destroy NATO the whole time and wreck our alliance? Because if Turkey's in NATO, then they can't move on. But look at how arrogant they are. They're like, we've already gotten America to do our dirty work in Iran, however long that'll take those idiots. Okay, now we're moving on to Turkey. They're already on to the next. The wars are never going to end unless we cut off our relationship with Israel.
100%, we need to decouple right now.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.